A foil is a character that is designed with the express purpose of contrasting another character, usually in design, but also aspects like qualities and personality. Hi, just a quick heads up. If you have epilepsy, maybe click off this video. There's a lot of flashing lights and... yeah. Thank you, sorry. Everyone loves exploring doors. I mean, of course they do. It's literally how you play the game. It's jam-packed with secrets, and you can't help but admire the vastness of Limbo. It's human nature to want to explore things, and this game really plays into it. If you ask me, I think that sense of exploration and taking it all in is what the game is entirely about. It sells this idea in a ton of ways, like with the architects, the different floors and entities, but in this video, I'll be focusing on one aspect specifically: glitch. I'm not even gonna bother explaining who it is. You all know it, it's crucial to the game's lore, gameplay, and even the protagonists themselves. Yeah, it has a lot of connections. But when you realize that, you start to ask what those connections are, and thinking about it starts to feel more and more like a giant rabbit hole. You realize they connect in one way, but because of that, you realize they connect in another, and you spiral and spiral until it just gets confusing. When you get to the end of that rabbit hole, you realize it's really damn good writing. So, I'll do you all a favor and cut the confusion by explaining it all in one video and taking you to the end of that rabbit hole for free. Listening? Good. Now, to take it from the top once more, I'm sure we all know who the player, aka the tourist, is. By the way, I refer to them as the tourist because of this painting of the outdoors, which is implied to be the player. It's sort of tricky, though. When half of the fandom sees the player as, well, themselves, like a self-insert. However, some people also give them a personality and treat them like their own character. Take a look at the endless Torment trio and you'll see what I mean. Personally, though, I think it's a bit of both. My opinion is that who the player is doesn't matter. However, their actions do. In the game, you have a surprisingly large amount of freedom. You can explore a ton, with the only restrictions being physical and or created by the architects themselves. Not once do we reject checking out an area because it's too scary. We like seeing things, and fear isn't something we really have to face. In fact, this El Goblino quote backs this up. He asks us why we're going through the hotel when we first meet him. Instead of talking about wanting to go home or something, you know what we say? Discussing who the tourist is isn't too tricky. Specifics vary, but at their core, I think they're an explorative person who got stuck here and wants to uncover anything and everything possible. However, that's only half of the equation, so we're far from done. We need to move on to both the figurative and literal headache that is glitch. To keep it simple, it's a non-tangible being stuck in our heads that can only make us hallucinate things, whether it be the items in our hands or entire scenarios. However, aside from its little hobby of art, Glitch has one goal and one goal only: getting out of here. It even states it when you die.
Enough information. Will leave. Go there.
With such a powerful being, it seems easy enough for it until you realize it's tethered to us. So we'll need to get out too. We hold it back, even if it's indirect, and I find that incredibly fascinating to me. Hell, their relationship in general is cool. With the tourist, Glitch is a foil for them. With their existence and interactions, it makes the tourist infinitely more nuanced and developed, and vice versa. If you're confused, we can look at an example. For you fighting fans, Subspace is a foil for Medkit. Her more volatile nature contrasts with how reserved Medkit is. His history with Medkit highlights their differences as well, and they share similar design motifs to her, most notably the presence of an eye patch. The fighting team did an incredible job on her with how he's written. So well, in fact, I think Subkit might be Roblox's most popular ship of all time. Point is, it's powerful stuff. Now, let's get back on track. Speaking of power, Glitch and the tourist have a fascinating power dynamic together, and it's our first actual contrast of the video. Look at us and all of our notable accomplishments. We were either just incredibly sneaky, like with the figure in the library, or Guiding Light herself carried us, like figure and the library. We need help from them. But Glitch? Yeah, it stated it best, so...
someone let me be. Does it realize my potential?
So not only is Glitch strong while we're weak, but it was disliked by the architects while they care a whole lot about us. Glitch might even hate them back, considering it seems like it was phrased with frustration and or anger. So not only does Glitch contrast the tourist in two ways already, but it manages to involve another set of characters entirely, the architects. There's even more details too. When Glitch creates visions or glitch fragments, you should know that you're not actually assisted by the architects at all because it's not real. When you're dealing with a vision, the architects in your comfort zone is stripped away. But when you return to what's real, Glitch can't affect you as much anymore, and then Glitch is out of its own comfort zone. Are you starting to see how intertwined and layered this is? Well, if you answered yes, know that you're a liar. This is barely the surface. Let's stop looking at Glitch's general power, but instead look at what it's made with it. I'm talking about the visions, or as Glitch likes to call it, I covered the visions in my previous video, but in there, I mostly focused on the themes. This time, it's all about Glitch itself. When I was covering it though, I left out an important creation it made for good reason. 2 words. Daily runs. Now, daily runs are more than just disposable entertainment. Look at the badges. Low latency. Parallel processing. Hell, one of them is literally titled machine learning. If you ask me, I think this makes it clear that Glitch uses these daily runs to learn from us. Likely information on how to evade the entities or escape. So yes, if you want to be literal, that's what it's doing. However, if you'd entertain the more figurative side of things, it technically means that we're making content for Glitch too. On a silver platter, every daily run is a batch of content for Glitch to learn from. It figures out how to evade entities, navigate environments, and improve. Remember how the content update was branded with all of the glitchy imagery? Say that's a coincidence with a straight face, I dare you. With the tourist and Glitch, the relationship of content curator and content consumer gets flipped around and turned upside down with these 2 unfortunate characters. It's made even more fascinating when you realize that Glitch makes us view things that aren't real, and the tourist helps it view and understand what is real. Like I said in the intro, it's fascinating, but it's a giant mess to think about. But it's not like we can just sweep this giant mess of parallels under the rug for obvious reasons. They need each other. And honestly, I don't think I've really touched on that enough. They need each other. Let me phrase this next part bluntly. What do these pair of characters need, and how do either of them contribute to the other's goals, if at all? For the tourist, again, all they seem to really want is to explore. But for Glitch, if you saw my previous video, it needs to be seen, yes, but it desires a way to escape this place. Do you notice a bit of a problem? Now this is where things will enter a more theoretical perspective. Limbo is so vast and rich and filled with content for us to consume. Floors, subfloors, entities that feel so satisfying to go against and outsmart. Items that aid you in various ways. Beautiful and intense spectacles that keep you engaged. I mean, this place is beautiful. If you want to explore, if you want the tour of your lifetime, this is the place for you. This is where you should be. So why? Why would you leave? Yeah, that's right. Glitch's goals go against ours. From the start, it was never going to work. Literally. In the warmly lit hotel of pale yellows and browns, the color Glitch boasts is a bright purple. It isn't meant to be here. Oh, and we aren't alone in this sentiment. Assuming you saw the last video, I think the architects wouldn't be too happy if we left. They need us too. It must be painful watching the tourists get oh so close to the architects, the figures that deemed Glitch as something worthless, the figures that rejected it. I bet if they realized Glitch was stuck in their head, they would delete it. They didn't hesitate the first time they wanted it gone, did they? Maybe it's not even the architects that have to kill Glitch, and Limbo's nature kills it off. What if we grow tired of some useless, redundant item skins? What if we want something new? Something that isn't just recolored, repackaged, rebranded? We can forget about it if it doesn't show us anything we care about in due time. We want more. Yeah, they need us, but we clearly don't need them. If you ask me, I think that Glitch's situation is so impossibly tragic, misfortunate, unlucky. It's making the best decisions it can, but the chances of it all working are unlikely. It makes one wonder, what happens if it gets to this point? What happens if we stop Glitch from getting to its goal? How would it feel? Betrayed? Shocked? Sad? Angry? What if it was angry? How would it lash out? What would that look like? No, literally. If we're bound to an entity that can alter our senses at will, and it stopped caring about some stupid art for us to enjoy, what would happen then? What could it possibly subject us to? Oh, it'd make us remember it alright. We could never forget. Ever. Okay. That was a bit far for a theory, but if you think about it, I think it has merit. Glitch is trying to create more and more and more. We've seen Seek, the World Lotus, and the Architects do that. And if you saw my old video, you'd know I consider this a tragedy. A tragedy about eternally holding on and never being able to let go. Glitch could fall for that, yes, but it's intelligent. And on top of that, it seems to hate the Architects, and if it hates them, then I'm sure it'd hate them enough to not turn into another one of them. Because of this, I think it would know when to call it quits. Not just on creating content, but on cooperating with someone who inherently never will. Though, maybe that's letting the writer take too much control. To stop any overthinking, let's just keep it simple and reasonable. I think Glitch's plan will fail, and when it does, all hell will break loose in its fury. As far as I know, Elsplash and Redibles are the only writers on the team, in which case, holy hell, they're geniuses! This is so much. Glitch is one of the most nuanced foils in a piece of media I've ever consumed, ever. Elsplash, Redibles, if you're seeing this right now, props to you, honestly. And also, please tell me I'm right, pretty please. Alright, jokes aside, I hope anyone watching learned a bit or two. Glitch, in its supreme intelligence, might still not be able to account for everything, but for our sake, let's just hope it was right when it tried calling it.
With enough iteration, we'll believe together.
Alright. I gotta get this thing uploaded. Okay. Woo! Now I need to get started digesting everything that I've, actually been missing out on. Let's see. God damn it!